know, what happens with it.
Yeah.
You don't have more.
We're all muted. They're all muted. Logan, are you with us?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear you now?
There we go. No, I couldn't, I think we were on mute here, so, where are we at in the, are we into the reports?
Yes, and the warden was asking, there's one that was on there last month, and it's off this month. Was that taken care of? Or what happened that one? It was-
The Rogers Hill
Rogers Hill.
and Durham Road, and also subscriptions.
What was the location? Durham Road?
Durham Road and the community of Rogers Hill, I think,
Right. I believe our bylaw enforcement officer had reviewed those sites. And we had been waiting prior to that on the snow to melt. So I believe that she reviewed them and found them. I'm just whipping out my notes from Anne here. So Anne had been checking in on that one to confirm whether or not it had been cleaned up. And I believe that's why it would have been taken off the list. I can confirm that with her and follow up with you, Warden, if that sounds okay. But I believe that that's where we were on that one.
okay, you can let me know. I was just thinking if we had some way on this report to know when something disappears, why it disappeared, you know, if it was because it was cleaned up or thrown down or whatever, that there's no way to know if there's some gone that were there last week.
Yeah, so you're looking for some way to post a resolution for everybody here to see, I guess, which sounds fair to me for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
What's that?
I can just have a little bit down tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, next up is the warden's report. With Councillor Dorr. Second by Councillor Dave Carter. Is there any questions on the report? Seeing none? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Count by nay. Motion carried. Next is a policy on traffic authority appointment. This is something that was required for our own private roads. Our own, municipal roads.
Yeah, so one of the requirements under the Motor Vehicle Act is that we have to have the traffic authority approved. So this policy appoints Logan and Dan Fortune as the assistant for that position.
I'll move it.
Okay, moved by Councillor Peel. Second by Warden Parker. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Oh, sorry, Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious, what authority, what do they do here?
So it gives the traffic authority the ability to impose restrictions on the road. So
Like weight restrictions in the
it
street?
could be, well, we have a weight restriction bylaw, but it could be parking, could be speed, as well as requiring, like if somebody wants to do work on the road, that they have to have a permit to work within our right of way, I think. So that's what it'll do. It'll grant us the authority to impose those type restrictions. There may be further bylaws that will come as a result of this, but this is the first step. And this is then submitted to the Minister of Transportation once council approves it.
Was not our previous Director of Public Works, not our traffic authority at one time?
I can't answer if he was appointed. It was probably done probably done prior to me coming here. But yeah, so that would be just an appointment.
Okay, thank you.
And it is by policy, so it's for it, so.
Okay, any more questions? Seeing none?
May I offer a comment? It's Logan here. Sorry.
Go ahead, Logan.
I'd like to point out, I'm very pleased that we are hiring, as of today, we have received an accepted offer from our development office, who will be our new development officer. And I'm pleased to say that they have an extensive transportation related background. And I believe that will help quite a bit, both in our administration of this program, as well as in the development of new bylaws and policies related to it. So just as we're looking at, as Brian mentioned, the authority is going to be required to come up with these additional policy items to support the program. I believe this new person will be an excellent resource for that as well. And I did want to share that with council as well, that we are, as of today, we have received an accepted offer back from our hire.
Councilor Dave Parker.
Would it be too much to ask our Director of Public Works to share that name with us?
I'd be very happy to share. Thank you very much, Councillor Parker. The person who will be joining our team is named Jeremy Lewis, and he is coming to us from Springfield Estates, where he has resided for the past couple of years since moving here from Southern Ontario. So he comes with an extensive background of the better part of 20 years with the city of Kitchener. So we look forward to him providing excellent insights into traffic related, but also, of course, his premier role as our development officer in terms of the processing of our development applications.
Very good. It's good to hear. Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Count by name, motion carried. Next is street light request for 110 Hidden Cove Drive, District 2. Councilor One.
Yeah, just like to move that we install a conventional street light at the Untitled Chapter drive in the Victorian for second.
By Councilor One,
So second it.
second by Councilor McKeel. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Count by name, motion carried. Number 7, cottage waste collection. Gordon Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I received a phone call back several months ago, and I was in the fall sometime, from a lady of River John Way, where Cape John, and, quite concerned that a lot of, houses or full-time houses are now being built, along the shore where there was once cottages. And, some of these are very expensive homes, and, right now, our, landfill people, they go around every 2 weeks. They do pick up until a certain date. I think that date is right around Thanksgiving. And so the request was to have that extended, because winter doesn't really start on Thanksgiving. And so they were looking to have that service extended at least until Christmas, because in her words, we rarely get much winter now before Christmas. And so I told her at the time I would take it before council at some point, and so I have been talking to Earl Cameron at the landfill, and he says that it may happen anyway as they develop a new contract, but what they're looking for is an extension. It may even happen year round, but there's a hiccup in it, and that's that they only go on the road if they think the road is suitable. And so a lot of these private roads, the cottages and stuff are maybe suitable in the summertime, but certainly in the spring as the frost is coming out, and during the winter may not be suitable. And the part I don't have from Earl Cameron yet is what additional costs there would be for our municipality to sign a contract that has that in it because you said we've been paying for it, even though a lot of the year you're not able to get that service because it's, not feasible to get down this road, so, I don't think it's something we want to make a decision on, today. We need to know what costs. Sure, but I'm sure this lady isn't the only one. There's a feeling out there that we pay high taxes. We have a real nice home we built down by the water. We pay high taxes and yet we're not getting a service that we feel we should get. And this council's always had a cottage policy where, you know, we do get service. I'm not sure, Brian, if that's for all three, or like, is that recycling, compost, and garbage, or does some of it have to go to the end of their growth?
My understanding, cottages are picked up every week, but it's a rotation, so they will get
Okay.
like blue bags one week and then garbage and compost the next
Right.
for that period of time, so they actually get service every week, but it's because they use the same truck for everything, right? So
Yeah, I use a smaller truck, I think, for some of those roads, so anyway, it's a request that, I thought I'd bring forward to council here, you have a lot of residents for sure that it would affect. And we're gonna be talking, I think, some more later on tonight about some of those residents, but, it's a matter of us looking at it, along with our, your services people and saying, is that something we can offer? And I think the, first indications from GFL that the property is and have what cost. So I will bring back some more information at our next meeting when I get the cost on it. That was a real recommendation, was the week we get the cost. I just wanted the people to know so that you can think some about it and when we talk to some people that might be in that situation.
Just wait for you to get back to us.
So put it on the agenda next for next.
Next is the Hillside Lift Station overflow update. Mr. Riddell is with us. Ron, mute you again. Steps in tonight.
I think the window was open over there.
Logan, are you with us?
Hi, apologies. Sorry, I missed that. Cut out a little bit out here in Eureka.
Okay, so we're on number 8, the Hillside Lift Station overflow update.
Yeah, so we have received the CCTV video results back, and we are reviewing them. Initial indications are that there is some inflow and infiltration entering our system that we will be looking to correct.
Is it coming, is the overflow coming from private residents or?
We will have to finish our review, but it's we don't really know 100% yet. We should know shortly. We just received the videos about a week and a half ago, and there are a lot of them, so it will take some time to get through. But we will provide an update to council as soon as we have one.
Okay. Good. Okay, so we'll move on. 9, ground search and rescue. At the order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When Grand Search and Rescue here, great presentation to us. They said that show us their operation, and I had an email from them suggesting that Saturday, April the 30th would be good for them at their building. It's 8333 Little Harbor Road, across from the Little Harbor Fire Department. And they're wondering what time. I suggested 10 o'clock, but they'd like a number of how many can make it. So that'll be on Saturday, April the 30th. So we have a show of hands, so we can get back to them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6. That's all I need to know. That's all you need. So I'll go back to them and confirm it, and then we'll send you an email.
You'll send us an email. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Okay, next is there any emergency resolutions? Seeing none? 22 minutes, not bad. Think we're late starting, too, 7:02. Anyway, motion for adjournment.
Oh,
By Councilor Parker.
Second.
Second by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Count nay. Motion carried.
you know, Councilman Keel will get it 20 days.
I'll try my best. Good evening, everyone. I'll call a financial services meeting to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Okay, first we have the approval of the agenda.
So, seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded nay. Motion carried. Okay, errors, omissions, corrections in the minutes from March 21st, 2022. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Reports. First, we have recreation report.
So moved.
Moved by Deputy Warden Murray. Seconded by Council Palmer. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor Butler.
I'd just like to comment on goal number 3. To help people connect to nature through recreation. The second item there shows an initiative where they have children involved, and as well environment is a new topic, where they're sort of marrying the two and getting more people involved in cleaning the community. So anyway, I think it's a nice initiative, and I'd like to compliment them on going forward with that.
Thank you, Councilor Butler. Warden Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's in here somewhere, I think I read it, but I forget where it is, but it's mentioned there, but I usually come into the building for a week, try to come in the back door. If you haven't been out back lately, you need to go out and have a look at the door. See all that I forget who got it for, like these people over the door, but anyway, there's a door there now. When people come to pick up some lawn equipment for the recreation department, there's no doubt which door you go to. The word play is there in huge letters, and it's a very colorful looking door. I think it's well done, and you can't miss it. They even have it rigged up with a little speaker on there so that somebody on the outside can say, I'm here to pick up my skis. And one of the ladies in the recreation department, either Cindy or Claire, can hear them on the inside before they had to be washing the window all the time, see when Joe was coming to pick it up and stuff. So it's much more efficient for the general public. And it's, I say, a well done job, you know, with the door up there. So take a drive around behind the building sometimes, see where the action is.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
it looks great. So on social media, looks great.
Oh, I thought it was great.
I didn't see it in the light, no. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded nay. Motion carried. Next, we have the communications report for March, April 2022. And please make note that at our next council meeting, May 2nd at 6:30, to be early, we're getting our picture taken. Okay, so come in your best, and
Early means half an hour.
early means half an hour, so 6:30 at our next council meeting. Can I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Okay, moved by Councilor Turner, seconded by Councilor Palmer. Go ahead, Councilor Turner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. Says I've started regular communications with a professional advertising firm regarding an internet project. You inform the council who's the firm?
It's from the digital ubiquity setup with us to work with, so it's done that I'm dealing with.
Where are they from?
Right,
Going to say Quebec.
Quebec, Ottawa, he's pretty extensive background, he's contracted by them. And yeah, so he's developing a communication plan and talking to this literature that's going to go out with everything, so he's working with us.
Are we able to see that as it progresses somewhere along the line?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay. Warden Parker.
somewhere, the last one, I just wanted to mention on the end of our building. Anybody that has been around the Rotary like that, lately, wouldn't have seen it, but, maybe it's on social media. You don't have to see it really, but I think it's really good. It shows, this building that says down Solitaire, but it also, gives our website, you remember, for for that project, so. So I did a lot of work on that, so thank you for that, and, I think it's a great idea, and it might have in different colors.
Yep, I believe. Last night it was blue and white, so, and tonight, and then tomorrow back up and back to white, if you have a special occasion, or if anybody has recommendations for a special occasion, so. I'm learning the basics, so.
Both of those are good initiatives, I think, for a municipality, one you gotta be a little closer, the other one you don't need. Thank you.
Thank you. It lights up lovely at night, and I think it'd be great, especially when we're doing certain proclamations for the month. You know, epilepsy, for example, is purple. It'd be great to kind of do those things as well. So yeah, it looks great. Great. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have accounts paid for the month of March 2022. Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Turner, seconded by Councilor Dewar. Yes, go ahead, Councilor Dewar.
So I second, I wanted to ask, put check 18,427 for 53,000 for the breakers. It says January repair shaft. What's that?
The order free complaint.
What's the question? What was that repair of the shaft? Is that correct? This is Logan speaking.
Logan,
Pardon me?
I answered it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Answer your question.
That was kind of must have been main shaft.
It was the,
Something.
it was the order free complaint. The main shaft of the RBC. No, it was the RBC.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor One. Oh, Mike.
I'm sorry, just the iValley out of the internet costing. The last one was been like 16,000, something like 95. Is there a reason for that increase, or what exactly we're paying for it?
Must have just been an add-on to that. I can check on that. Must have been got.
Back to you, Brian.
Sure.
Sure. Okay, perfect. Okay, Deputy Warden Murray.
Madam Chair, check number 18370, 17,930 lift station lines. So do we have problems there? Step on.
Go up possible again.
Okay. Ready to go back to you, Brian? Oh, go ahead, Councilor Palmer.
Check number 18407, $12,075 Eastlink March Internet project. Is that whether you Halifax Exchange?
Which one is that?
Monthly, so
Oh, that's the monthly costs
That's
for
the monthly cost for the
connecting here to Halifax by so.
Good.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, Brian.
Just searching for.
Sure. Okay, we'll come back to that. Next, we have the D transfer tax report for information purposes. Oh, sorry, we'll have to vote on that. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, next we have D transfer tax report for information purposes only. Any questions or comments on that report? Another stellar month. As we see. Okay, we'll move on to the power report. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The power report and the NSFM were attached to your minutes, so if anyone has any questions, I'd like to answer them, but this is immediately going over the reports that you need yourself. Thank you very much.
Okay, and same for the NSFM as well? Yes, okay. Go ahead, Councillor Palmer.
On the NSFM report there, Councillor Watt, read where the top of their negotiation for exchange of services. Do you know what exchange of services they're talking about?
Service exchange contract in the MOU that we have with the province. People will be able to communicate together now.
Are they looking at adding anything that's,
I don't know. It's just starting negotiations on it.
that they're negotiating the cost
New
of
service agreement with the province. Just, I think that took care of primary Robert roles and social services session with him years ago, like in '95. So they're looking at updating that.
Please on the download the services?
We don't know what's on.
Okay, but what's something comes up, you don't like stuff like?
Yeah, but the NSFM have a committee put together. There is membership for the province. We're sitting on the committee with the province.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Crawford.
Thank you. I just want to compliment and mention that Eric Stackhouse has been the lead on this here new initiative. So I guess to some degree evaluate the libraries and all of the provinces accepting each other. He's the chair. I would suggest that we send them a letter eventually, but I see there's an official launch coming up on the 4th of June. They don't want to steal their thunder after it is officially launched. Those of us who know Eric, and he is a constituent of mine. He's a very hardworking, competent individual who wants to advance the use of libraries in our society. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Parker. Go ahead, Councillor Watt.
Just to add to Councillor Parker's comments, Eric Stackhouse is one of the hardest chairs that you're seeing before. He just he's always looking for ways to improve our different paths, and he is doing this.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor Watt. Okay, we're going to go back to Brian concerning the iValley payment for the month of March, April. So, Brian, go ahead.
So the increase, there was a $3,000 increase, so it'd be 3,000 plus tax. And it's for the internet performance testing. Happens in kind of in the background. I think so we can judge speeds and stuff.
So will that be charged, we'll see every quarter or every?
It's a yearly subscription, yeah.
All right, moving on, 15 funding requests. So we'll go with 15A. Council grants. First, we have Pictou County Chamber of Commerce Award sponsorship, $1,500. And correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, this is usually something that we give every year for this large business award at their event, their gala dinner every year.
Correct. In the past, it has been for the large business event. It hasn't been held, I guess, in the last 2 years. And the award, I guess, that we would be giving this year's newcomer.
Newcomer or small?
Or small business. So they have a different sponsor for the large business. And their timing of the event is May 12th, I believe. And in the past, it's been $1,200, but it's increased to $1,500 this year.
Okay, what is your pleasure, councillors? Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Palmer, seconded by Councillor Wadley, that we do a sponsorship of $1,500. Any questions or comments? Go ahead.
They're just wondering which award.
Well, we have to choose an award if we want the small business or the newcomer. I would say newcomer. Anybody even have any thoughts?
And the one's available on the 12th for.
Do we agree the newcomer award? Sure. Okay. All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded nay. Motion carried. So next we have our school bursaries. Again, this is another annual sponsorship that we do to our high schools. Do you want to maybe give us the dollar amounts that we've used in the past years?
Yeah, the amounts are on there. North Nova was for bursaries was 1,000, Northumberland was 1,000, Victor Academy was 200, and Headham-Bush Regional was 200 last year.
Okay, moved by Councillor Dewar, seconded by Councillor Elliott. Any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Barker.
I'm just a little bit confused. I see there's another application immediately following this, but only for North Nova. Does that mean that Northumberland did not apply?
At this point, they hadn't, and I'm not sure they traditionally apply. We generally, what we give to one, we give to the other. I'm not sure we always receive a request.
I can make sure you receive it.
I think in the past, we've always, whatever we've given to one, we've given to the other.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Deputy Warden Murray.
Madam Chair, Brian, sent down the request. Give a request for that before.
For the graduation expenses, we have funded them in the past. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on the school bursaries? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded nay. Motion carried. So next we have the North Nova Education Center graduation expenses. We funded them last year, if my memory is correct. And go ahead, Councillor Palmer.
I'll make a motion, we give them the same $1,000. Same to the.
Seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Councillor Wyden.
I'm just a little confused over, is this the second grant we're giving?
First one is a bursary for like graduation.
Transfer.
Yeah, and this is for your expenses. Yes. Deputy Warden Murray?
Same thing, we're confused on the first one, it does say graduation cost. Is that over and above that? On our first
It is
motion,
to- Yeah, what we just did the bursaries. This here is for the graduation costs.
So the first is like their scholarships that receive, like that they,
first one, I know what it says on that, it says bursary 1,000 and graduation cost 1,000. So are we saying that we're gonna give them another 1,000 on top of that, or that's?
No, that was just
So
a
that's
breakdown.
included in the first motion.
No, the first motion was to give the $1,000 bursaries to North Nova, Northumberland, 250 headed, 200 to Headham-Bush. So that's the first motion. The sheet just shows the total payout that we have.
Sorry for these.
not stupid enough. No, it's good to be translucent and understand what's going on. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. We've had a mover and a seconder for the graduation expenses. The movers were Councillor Palmer, the seconder was Councillor Thompson. Okay, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded nay. Motion carried. Okay, next we will move on to workers' compensation claims for fire department procedures. I'll pass this over to you.
Councillor Wyden had asked this to be put on the agenda. The fire departments are covered under WCD. It is an account that is linked to us as per the legislation. So any claims that are to be made are come through, I guess, really through the fire chief to municipality to initiate the potential claim. We will issue the forms back to the department, the member and the chief will be required to complete the various parts and submit back to us. And then we will submit the forms to WCB. And at that point, a caseworker is assigned. WCB assess the validity of the home. So it's something that's relatively new. But I think this is our second claim that we've had, and this is really the process that will unfold for us. So we will circulate this to all the departments just so that they're aware of the steps that need to be taken.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Number 17, non-resident property tax and deed transfer tax. As we know, this is a very hot topic right now in Nova Scotia. As you see in our package, we've received communication from PBSC, information on the tax itself. Brian, I'll send it over to you. Go ahead, speak on it.
I don't really have anything further to add than what was in the memo. From an administrative standpoint, there is not a lot of information out there. And it wasn't prior to the announcement. I think the email that came from municipal affairs kind of after the fact is that it's planned to be administered solely by the province, which eliminates us from the administrative side of it. I'm not sure people will necessarily separate the two, because it is, I think, the most troubling part is the fact that province is entering into municipal, really what has been traditionally municipal domain on property tax. So I think that's probably the most troubling part. The $2 seems like an exorbitant amount charging. They're really not, to my understanding, basically looking at the program, they're not receiving any service for it, additional service. And to link it to affordable housing, but I'm not sure how the two actually match up. Really. So.
Okay. Thank you very much for the administration's perspective. Board Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is probably by far the most important issue we're going to talk about here tonight. This will affect very many of our residents. I've talked to several people who, are just blown away by this. It's on radio or somebody saying it's on the house, so you say, well, that worked. And another house for another house for somebody. But these are a lot of our part-time residents that live along, in many cases, along our shores. And they're here partly because of family, partly because of the water, and partly because it's a nice place to live. And a lot of them have put an awful lot of money and a lot of time into their homes. And they plan on living here when they retire in many cases, but they already live here 5 or 6 months a year, some of them. I think we're sending a terrible message to our residents from our province, and these people play a really important part in our communities. They're here all summer with us, they're supporting our farmers market, supporting our shops and whatnot, and we're sort of telling them that perhaps we're no longer interested in you living here. If you sold your house, we have another house. I talked to the premier about this a week or two ago, and he admitted that it's what he called a blunt instrument. It's meant to take a swing at the housing industry somehow, but it's really, there's no proof at all that it's really going to help anything. But it's certainly telling a lot of people that they're not really all that welcome here anymore. The taxes are soaring up. And in many cases, these are high price homes. So these people are already paying. I heard I think it was the word tester say that if it wasn't for an area, they have even more of these type of homes. If it wasn't for these people, the high taxes they pay, the rest of the residents that live there all the time would have to pay a lot higher tax. Because of those homes that were built there over the years, you know, that's paying a lot of tax. And I think the other, I think that's one big thing is the insults of those people that could cause some of those people to leave, which would be a shame. Some of them especially going to be long-term residents here when they retire. But just as serious is the eventual intrusion in the property tax. Perhaps more serious, because once it's done once, it's going to be easy another time to look at that tap and say, well, we got away with it the first time, there was a bit of drop and ground, but we got away with it. Let's go for another property tax, another deed transfer tax. They're intruding into something that's traditionally been municipal funding. And we can't just intrude into income tax. You know, that's their funding, the province and the feds, I don't think there's any chance of us. And it's a dangerous move for this, for what it's going to gain. If it was going to make a big difference in the housing picture, but most people I talk to can't see it making any difference in the housing picture. These people that have these really nice homes, they're not going to rent them out to somebody for 5 or 6 months, you know, and have their investment perhaps destroyed. And so it's not helping, it's just costing those people more money, so it's doing. So it raises the money that the government needs for something else, but it's really not doing anything about the housing growth, in my opinion, anyway. And I think both the municipality of Guysborough and Chester in particular have led the way here, and I think this county should be making an equally strong statement against what's being done here. I would like to see a NSFM take a lot stronger stance. They scheduled a meeting, I think, for the 29th, but it seems to me that the issue may be all over by that time if this gets passed through the House. So I don't know why perhaps our representative in NSFM can comment on that, but why they have jumped on it a little bit quicker. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Morton Parker. Councillor Dewar.
Thank you, Chair. I think there should be a letter go from the county to the Premier's office and McMaster and everybody else's names are on that list. We're against this because this is going to do just absolutely the opposite of what we want it to do. And like, I'm really surprised that the minister even has his name on that. I'm sure that it's not all provincial people that own them big golf courses up the river, but it might be, I have no idea, but there's a pile of money coming from somewhere for those places. And if it wasn't, the warden just said, if it wasn't for these people coming home in the summer, and they're keeping up a lot of old properties around this county, and they live in the States and they live in Ontario. Even this evening, I listened to a taxpayer in the county talking about land that was sold along the water, and they're going to build this year. That might completely change their mind on that. And I'm totally against it. I think it's absolutely wrong. And if I have to make a motion, I'd make a motion to send a letter, not a letter, an email, something that's going to get there immediately. This county is opposed to this particular piece of legislation. Make that motion.
Okay, we have a seconder. Okay, seconded by Councillor Elliott. Thank you, Councillor Dewar. Councillor Watton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Councillor Dewar. Yes, a letter has to go to, I think a letter should go, a letter should go to the province, especially the finance minister on this. And I think it would be important, Brian, do we have any idea how many out-of-province bills are sent out? We're not telling what we're receiving now from out-of-province residents.
It's not fairly bad problem.
The tax bills are going in the province. I
Yeah,
guess.
but a non-resident could be somebody that lives and still lives in the province, but it's not resident to be established in Canada.
Yeah, wouldn't be,
Sorry.
yeah, there wouldn't be any way for us
We don't know.
to know whether or not they meet the
We
definition.
don't know what the definition of non-resident is gonna be yet.
I think some of them are looking at how many other province bills and something, just to get a ballpark idea of the effect that could have on the municipality.
We don't, I can't tell you how many non-resident, I could tell you how many we're sending out of outside of Canada, but because of the postage rates. But we're mailing something that's within Canada, that's still the same postage rate, so I can't tell you.
So do we have any way to find out exactly kind of when we're talking here, a little bit, what we take in from these residents? How this is from the fringe, it's just,
Probably the closest number that might link up closest to it would be people, the properties that are not eligible for cap. Because that's a residency, right?
Because there's a lot of residents that are not eligible. Yeah.
Because it's a second home.
There's a lot of residents that are not eligible for that. Because of they bought. Just be bought or something like that.
Which just doesn't road I live on, which is a problem. People pay the taxes in Germany. Sisters in the nursing home in Troy, so that means they're into the blue and up the road is Arizona. So there's two just straight on my road and I could have a list for the next time, but
I'm just kind of getting, we're gonna write a letter to the province.
It's hard.
We need to have some information of how it is going to affect us. It's just trying to get in, you know, I know a lot of the details are missing with province, I understand that. But just looking at the letters that are going out from Chester and those places, they seem to have some concrete information as to how it's going to impact. Just wondering if we can not come up with the same, come up with information as to how it will impact us. I think that would have more.
I can tell you how many people are out of the country, but not out of the province, like not out of Canada.
Anyway, just a thought, because I think it's important to bring a letter. The province are claiming they're going to get $81 million out of this. I think it's 65.5 for taxes alone.
They're going to get more from rural municipalities.
Oh, yeah. But 65.5 is the total number. They don't have to tell us how they come up with that amount. It is 15.5. They're looking at the transfer, so it's a total of 81 million. But they're not saying it's going back to housing.
The $2 non-resident tax is going to impact residents more than the deed transfer tax.
Exactly. I think we're more concerned with the property tax and the deed transfer, for sure. But just to Warden Parker's comments on the NSFM, we are trying to get a meeting together with the finance minister and the mayors and wardens, because we know this is a real serious issue. However, Halifax are not having an issue with this. It's going to work for them. So just keep that in mind, because they are one of the biggest municipalities in the province. So they're happy to see something like this happening. So it makes it very difficult for the rest of us to push our concerns forward. Although NSFM are trying to do that because they know the effect this is going to have on their rural areas. We are really concerned about it, but I just want to let everyone know that Halifax are on
I
side
think
with
it's going to
this.
affect rurals more than.
Definitely. It might be a good fix for a city, but it's definitely not going to help the rural area. And that's why we have to let the province know. I said, the only thing we can do is send a letter, because it's a provincial jurisdiction. It's a choice they made. There's nothing we can do to stop them other than let them know we're not happy with it. And so we have to let them know that. And we are trying to set up a meeting, like I said, with NSFM and the finance department and mayors and wardens, just to get the things on the table and try to get some more information as to where they get off the data, because we're not showing that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Boyles.
Yeah, great. We need more information of what's going on, like on the whole thing, but I heard on the radio today that it's implemented this month. And it's like 90 million that they're saying on the radio that the government will take in on this. So it's going to be hard to turn around and stop something that they already implemented, but it's hard.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Boyles. Councillor David Parker.
I hardly know where to start. Alan McMaster, when he introduced this part of the budget, he proclaimed that it was to deal with the housing crisis. A couple of days later, the premier indicated, no, we need that money to help pay for the tax reduction for rich people under 30. So this is not the first example, and only 7.5 months in, of government premier who makes an announcement, sounds wonderful, but look at the details. Details are examined, there are issues. Certainly, a particular concern of my brother's state should be they're now dipping into our primary source of revenue. Once that precedent is set, any future government, that they will, we did it in 2022. That's a major concern, or should be. I'm all for progressive taxation. Those who have more should pay more. That's exactly how it works on properties. You live in a $500,000 house, you pay more tax than somebody who's living in a $80,000 mobile. That's fair, in my opinion. Okay. A lot of these here properties, I've heard from some residents, are owned, in fact, by people that were born and brought up in Nova Scotia. They, for economic purposes, had moved away, and have done well, established a base back here in Nova Scotia. Some of them are quite modest, some of them are quite fancy. And again, progressive taxation on property takes care of that. There are a fair number of these here that call it cottages. When you're out on the water, it's a cottage. Back in the woods, it's a camp. You're out on the cottage, out on the waterfront, where it's a cottage, it's taxed. Back in the camp, the woods, you don't tell anybody. We have dozens and dozens and dozens of camps that aren't taxed at all. Some of them are as nicer and nicer than many of these here cottages that are taxed. So it's significantly unfair in that case. The best adjective I heard to describe it was that it was un-Nova Scotian. Well, this is not how we treat our neighbors, our family, litigants. Yeah, they lived in Ontario or elsewhere for 2 or 3 or 4 decades, and they're full intentions to come back here to retire. Now, after this slap in the face, they may not be coming back here. So I'm all in favor of sending a letter. I don't know if possibly word is strong enough. I want to point out one other thing. I brought this up a decade ago. The transfer tax was pretty new. We have forestry companies, almost all of which are certainly not resident here. They're German, they're American, they're Indonesian, and they trade vast blocks of land up worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They don't pay 1 red cent e-transfer tax. Why hasn't the government gone after that? Why are they only picking on some of whom are well-heeled? That doesn't mean you should pick on them. Some of whom are not. Why are they ignoring that potential social revenue? They're picking on individuals who happen to live on the shorefront. This trend of buying up shorefront and building houses on, it's not going to change. And it's very beneficial to the taxpayers of this county. My brother's right. If they weren't paying those higher taxes, then they would, the rest of us would have to pay more. Okay? There's just so much wrong with this. It reeks of xenophobia. It reeks of, a Robin Hood type attitude. Well, they've got money, that's plenty. They don't all have money. Some do. Some do. I'm saying there are some that have a $2 or $3 million cottage, you couldn't afford to pay more. But they are paying more. Now they're paying basically triple what we would tax them at. We tax at 81 cents plus fire, more or less $1 per 100 assessment, 1%. We're good. Now the government is saying, well, we want 2% more on top of it. Okay, so if it comes instead of 1%, it becomes 3%. And our CEO was right. They're going to blame us. Well, they can, let's say it's a $1 million property. They can set $30,000 from it. I want more services. Oh no, we're taking $10,000. Province is taking $20,000. There's just so much wrong with this. I could go on all night. I know you don't want to go through that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Parker and Warden Parker.
You're on my 2 minute block now.
Take time.
I just want to respond to Councilor One in terms of NSFM. Guess it doesn't surprise me maybe that I didn't realize that the city, this is actually a good thing for them. And maybe that's why I would have expected NSFM to have been on this the next day. Right now, we have a meeting scheduled for the 29th of this month. Basically going to be over and done with almost, but, you know, if the city's in favor of it, or HRM, then that's maybe explains why we're a bit slower off the block than if it were the other way around. And this is some of my concern with some of the organization is if the rural doesn't have more weight, then this is going to happen more in the future. So I think we have to push NSFM to be out there up front quicker when it comes to rural issues. There are going to be more occasions where rural is not going to think the same way. As Karen said, we're the ones that are going to lose more. And I just would have expected a stronger voice from them. I'm hearing from individual municipalities speaking out loud, and I do agree that we do need to get lots of facts when we send this letter. It can't just be, we don't like what you're doing. We've got to get some facts in there and whatnot, but there's really no fact in the fact they're dipping into our taxation pool. That was traditionally anyway been the municipality taxation pool. That is a fact in itself. I think it's very important to remember what the letter from the TVSC, from the Feeney, I think was his last name. But he said very clearly, we had no part in this. And we're not taking any responsibility for it. They weren't even consulted. Here, the main assessment people for the province, and we own them. We, the 49 municipalities, own the TVSC. They're basically telling them what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. So it's wrong from that point. This is, my brother said, wrong from so many points of view. But we do need to make sure that it isn't just an angry letter. It has to have some fact.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Palmer.
Not going to add anything. Just, this is not going to add anything to the housing prices that we have. I don't think. The people that can afford will pay their taxes, but I have a friend who called me on this issue. He's a Mountie that's out in Alberta, trying to get back home. It's pretty hard to get back home. He's thinking of retiring in 8 years' time, so he bought his father-in-law's house last year. Got a mortgage on it, he's paying that down, got a mortgage out in Alberta. It's the only one that works. This year's going to add $4,000 to his taxes for this time of season, right? He can't afford that. So he's, you know, what am I going to do? So sell the house? My dad to the housing market here, sell the house, not move back. When he grew up here, he's gone away for 20 years, being an out. And you treat him like that, it's, he wants to come back here where his family is from. So it has effect on a lot of people, and we just don't look at the real severity of it yet. So anyway, not gonna say anything else because again, that's dead.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I gave the impression that SFM weren't acting on this issue, I'm sorry, because they truly are. They were called in, but they get the briefing on the budget just prior to the budget release. And that's when they found out that they were coming up with this tax. And they then reacted to it then. They've been trying to get a meeting with the finance minister since then. But there's no data information that they can get on this at all. The only thing we're coming up to is the 65.5 and the 15.5, but no one knows where to get those numbers from. You know, here, if Karen and Brian can't tell us what they're paying, what those residents pay now, or who they are even. So how the province has come up with the information that is going to give them $81 million. We have no idea where that's coming from. So NSFM are working very hard, but again, they can't do it without meeting with the Minister of Finance. So he has to agree to meet with us, and whoever else will meet with us at the premier, that would be even better. but at least the finance minister to see if they can tell us where this information is coming from, because we truly don't know that they have been trying. They were involved with the law amendments, and that's one thing. It is, again, it's provincial legislation, and the province wants to do it, they're going to do it. And so all we can do is write letters and try to meet with the finance minister and try to get something done. This is a huge issue for Nova Scotia, there's no question. I know all my area, I'd say at least half of the residents in my area seasonal, and they spend 6 months of the year down there, and they contribute hugely to our community, to the province as a whole. And you know, there are a lot of upset people because, just like Andy says, they can't afford this $2 increase. That's huge in the property. So it is a really concern for all of us. So we'll write a good letter. Hopefully, we would find this solution, do whatever we can. If we have to contact Premier yourselves or the Minister of Finance, do that as councillors. But we all know this issue, but it really is, and it's the family can only do so much for us. I mean, bring us together and really push the point. But we have to be willing to fight that battle too. I think it's something that's we really have to consider fighting this as councillors.
Okay, Councillor Warren. Councillor Boyles. Take your second time as well.
It's just a very interesting. Dr. Palmer said they're the RCMP officer. I think if anything, that we should be trying to point them to them too, that anybody should get an exception. I mean, like the whole thing, but any, service personnel or both the RCMP too, they shouldn't be, I mean, they're defending our country. They're out there, no matter which they are. They're in the Air Forces or in the RCMP. So I don't think this tax should ever affect them if it does stay.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Boyles. Councillor Elliott.
So we've established that it's going to cost people more money, and the people that want to relocate here or that are here may not be able to afford it and move away. So they sprung it on us. It's only been a couple weeks and they're telling us April 1st. So why can't we write the letter saying we need time and we want to know why they're doing this? It's like it's affecting us, the municipality, right? So maybe we should we didn't have enough time. We certainly didn't, neither do the people. Everybody's talking about it, but we haven't got time to do anything.
Thank you very much, Mr. Elliott. Councillor David Parker.
I'm looking for an explanation here. I fully appreciate how areas like rural, coastal Victor County and Colchester and Cumberland and so on, most of our counties have some coast, and therefore have real benefit from seasonal residents. And there's some that they're not all coastal. Many of them are inland too. I don't understand how HRM benefits here. I'm saying they don't, HRM would include all the eastern shore, all the way up to the Eastern Secret Little Town. They would have a lot of cottage property too. I don't understand what they benefit. I understand that, that's like saying, well, Peter had to pay extra when he went for his medical care. So that helps me somehow. I don't understand that. Did somebody explain to me where in the benefit is HRM?
Explain that? No. I think that's a question that we'll go through.
Proportionally, they might have a lot less shorefront property. They'll have a very long coastline. But it's still, I can't see where there's any benefit to them. The only benefit is to the coffers of the province of Nova Scotia.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that hasn't spoken this or hasn't already spoken twice? I too received phone calls on this, as many of you did, and I second everything that was said tonight. So are we looking for, we have a motion on the floor to write the letter to the province, but as Councillor Wadman, Ward Parker pointed out, we need to have some data in that letter. It just can't be, we don't like this, we don't agree with it. We need to find out our impact on it. Impact on us as a municipality, we always said that.
Yeah, we'll try and pull together some estimate. I mean, Chester, it's an estimate, right? It's all it is. It's an estimate. So we'll look at a couple different sources and see if we can come up with a number, what this actually means. I mean, if they're looking at only collecting 80 million, and 5 million of it's coming from one municipality, from one municipality. So we'll see if we can pull some numbers.
So CC, should we CC three MLAs, but should we also should NSFM on it as well? And AMA, everybody.
And I think Matt here and the other ones that send us something, I think the guys were best anyway, we should, because Percy send.
Yes, I would agree, that's where we're getting at. Should we send it to all rural municipalities in the province maybe? Is that beneficial or?
We're just in distribution of some of the serve.
Okay,
Not gonna discriminate.
Yeah.
yeah.
Who's ever on that gets it.
Okay, so I'll call for the motion then. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded nay. Motion carried. Next, we have community announcements. Go ahead, Councillor Boyles.
On this Friday night, 22nd of April, at the Hillside Hall, we're having a paint night. 6:30. It's a cost of $30, but all supplies are provided for you with that $30. Also, one other thing I'd like to ask, I don't know where else it has to be done. I was asked, are we going to have volunteer supper this year?
Go ahead, Suzanne.
Dawn has the magic touch, obviously. It's something that Restorations will be looking at. They're trying, the province isn't doing their volunteer until the fall again. And so Cindy and Claire were trying to determine to have something in the fall or to have it something different this year. So I'll get them to reach out to you once and they can be reaching out to them.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Boyles, Councillor Dewar.
Thank you. This is a different type of community announcement, but I thought it was very important that everybody here heard about it, and I want to get it out. I was talking to administrators from schools, both of these concerns, and we have a meeting on the 1st of April. Must have been a bad luck time for us all, with the other that we just discussed and this coming up, but anyway, the schools were informed that they're only allowed to buy supplies for the breakfast program through out of county or out of the district. I mean, the whole CCR district, it has to come from a particular company that, and Sobeys and Superstore, well, holy man, who looked after the program better than Superstore and Sobeys and the general public doing stuff for everybody. They donate stuff, they would, in return, the schools would be buying from these two companies. And at Christmas, those companies would be there with gift certificates to give to the schools to help out families. And the whole part of it, it's the breakfast program is to help the people in the county. And the two big stores are helping the people in the county who support them. And here we are, that we're not allowed to do stuff with those companies anymore. It makes no sense at all. Like, it's a terrible, terrible thing. And well, we're not supporting local. I guess we are supporting local still in the province, but we're not supporting our neighbor and the person that works in these stores, and not helping the people that need to be looked after for breakfast. We gave donations for years. I tried to give a donation every year since I've been counselor, and other counselors do the same. They have them at the district meeting, and we gave out money. But it's kind of scratch the back of the person that's helping us for all these years. And I think it's a terrible piece of work. And I just wanted to put it out there that you'll know about it. and maybe you don't remember anyone to call, but there's nobody you can call to grab it anymore. It worked out absolutely perfect for them. They just set it up in such a way that they're gonna do what they want. But I don't think it's a piece of fair work at all. Just the very same as what we just discussed. It's another piece of dirt. But these two companies supported our schools in the county, definitely, for as long as there was a breakfast program or was able to help them. And I just wanted to put that word out there for the rest of you. There's no, I can't see making a motion or doing, sending an email, or I don't know what would work, but I'm looking for some help on this because I want to support the people that support us. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Dewar. Councillor David Carver.
April 30th, Saturday, at the Union Center Community Hall, roast pork takeout dinner, from 10:30 to 1:30, with all the fixings, of course, and a maple apple crisp made from my wife's recipe. It's bound to be good.
Sounds delicious.
$12 a plate. That is the fundraiser for the hall. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Elliott.
This Sunday, the 24th, 11 to 3, there'll be a takeout chili, biscuit and dessert included, at a cost of $12 at the Melville Seafoam Community Hall. And the proceeds go to the, and 11 to 3 until sold out.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Ward Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to comment on what Councilor Dewar is saying. Something really wrong here in Denmark. They're saying was wrong way here, not Denmark. You know, I just fully agree with what he's saying. That you support your own. You know, I don't know. This is the first I've heard it, so I don't know what's behind it. You know, telling schools that they can only buy their stuff for the breakfast program. Those breakfast programs are really, really important to us. Not just students who are hungry, either. Students who don't have time to have breakfast, or whatever. But, you know, learning comes from kids that are well fed. We know that. And to do this, it's sort of a slap in the face of the community, what it is. And, I don't know whose decision it was, whether that came from the new Centers for Education or whatever, or came from the province. I have no idea where that edict came from, but we live in a democratic country. We should be able to after ourselves, make up our own minds on these types of things. I love the little community organization that donates money every Christmas to help with the kids at school, but also donates regular to the breakfast program. You know, to suddenly hear that your money now is sort of under somebody's guard. Anyway, I wanted to fully support him. I think we need to look at ways that we can see if we can't speak up on this. If we can just let it die. But the one I put my hand up for was that one. It's just a support Councilor Dewar. Next Thursday, April 28th, and I'm sure many of you will have seen on the television, I forget which channel it's on, but Alan Martin. Riverton stuff. Riverton? Yeah. Anyway, he's on there talking about when his brother Glenn was killed in the Westbury explosion, which will be 30 years this May the 9th. But it's next Thursday, April 28th. It's the day to remember all those who lost their lives at work. Didn't get to come home. And they're in all the lines of work too. People tend to think about mining or whatever, but there's, you know, there's truck drivers, there's laborers at construction sites every year. We hear about now. My former uncle was the warden here in the 80s. He died in a farm accident, so he was working. And he was still in office here. And there's so many out there. And you always say to yourself, nobody should go to work and not come home to the family. And so I just wanted to make sure that we, and I'm sure Savannah will be putting something up on our website and stuff, but that we remember all those families that, you know, we're seeing the tragedy in Puerto Rico and everything unfold before us again. A whole lot of families that we hardly ever hear of it and just what happened. So I just want to remind everybody that next Thursday, April 28th is the day to remember those people. So I want to say for tonight, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you very much, Warden Parker. Councillor Palmer.
Just want to thank the councillors that came to the retirement party this past Saturday or 2 Saturdays ago now for Wayne Buttle. Councillor Bob Boyles was there, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Butler, Warden for presenting the certificate to Wayne. We really appreciate it. So thank you very much. It was well attended. Had about 125 people there, so it's good setting up for them. Especially for somebody that gave 44 years of his life. Service. Anyway, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Wyman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a reminder to everyone that the regional meeting for the NSFM with our county is on Friday, April 22nd, from 1 to 2:30 on Zoom. If you haven't had a chance to register, perhaps you should, and the whole discussion we had tonight on non-resident property tax, that is on the agenda, and I've attended 2 of the regional meetings so far. That is a lot of discussion around that tax, but if you can attend that meeting, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other community announcements? I would just like to comment and say that over the next couple of weeks, there's going to be lots of community cleanups, especially on the weekend. So just to remind people to be cautious as we see people on the sides of our roads cleaning up our ditches and such. And to those people that are volunteering their time to make our communities more beautiful, to want to say thank you to them and also be careful. Not only traffic, but what you're picking up. So make sure that you have gloves on, etc. But I just wanted to remind everybody about those going on, those Go Green, Get Clean events happening within our communities over the next couple of weeks. So thank you to all the volunteers and everybody organizing those as well. Councillor Dory, you have something to add?
Just that it's always been to go along with the word said about the park. I think as we close our meeting tonight, we should stand for a minute silence because of a terrible disaster 2 years ago for the day and tomorrow. Our flags were down and around, but I mean, just remember how we felt 2 years ago when we heard this, that it was just heart-wrenching, really, and the next day, I think a minute silence is appropriate tonight when we close our meeting.
Okay, perfect. Maybe we'll do that before we go into closed session tonight. Is there any other community announcements? Okay, any emergency resolutions? Okay, seeing none. So let's ask everybody to rise and we will have a moment of silence for the tragedy that happened in Portapique. So ask everyone to draw your attention and thoughts to those affected. Thank you. So that is, we are at the end of our open meeting tonight. We're going to go into closed session to discuss 2 items on our agenda this evening: sale of municipal property and contract negotiations. Can I have a motion to go into closed session, please? Moved by Deputy Warden Murray, seconded by